Stephen Coen, it's a little under a month to the All-Ireland Senior Football Final. Mayo were there. You bet Dublin at the weekend. It's a few days on from that. Are you still celebrating?
Uh, no, we trained last night. Kind of moved on for now at this stage. Just getting the bodies right. Took a few bits out of the game. We'll analyse it again the weekend. But yeah, just happy to be through to the next round, really.
We might just talk about that game for 2 minutes because it was a monumental affair, and we'll move on then because I know you want to move on from it. But the match itself, when did you smell blood in that game? Or is it like all Dublin Mayo games, it's always in the melting pot?
Sure, you'd love to smell it as early as possible, but we didn't really give an accurate representation of ourselves in the first half. Probably just gave away the ball a bit. Weren't happy with some of our performances, but then second half, I suppose we had no choice but to come out. We were 5 down or 6 down, and just when our backs were against the wall, we had to push hard, and then we had no chance to let off really, because if we did at any stage, we weren't going to get through the game. So I suppose we were just living off instinct and good decision making for the 35 minutes of the second half, and thankfully we got over the line just into extra time then as well. So
There was a couple of tactical tweaks at half time. One of them was Padraig O'Hora moving on to Kieran Kilkenny, and he had a phenomenal second half. He got a hand in very early on for a turnover. I'd like to know what your role was like at the weekend. Were you tagging the man closest to the goal, or were you just playing it as you saw it?
well, the way these games go, the higher the teams you play against, you have to be so fluid and be willing to mark any at any stage. I'd say any time we played against Dublin, they've marked 5-6 different forwards. You just have to have trust in each other that you're going to make the right decisions. Your man will take your fella for 2 or 3 plays. It's just so crazy. This game's a high level. So that's, in fairness to James, is testament to him and the way he's coached us and trained us, that we have to be adaptable and play in any position. So, not to give you a short answer, but I'm kind of all over the place, to be honest.
And do you mind that, the chaos of that in a match? Like you've played a couple of games like that in Croke Park. The ferocity of those games, I suppose you could pick out some of the semi-finals against Kerry as well. There's probably nothing like it.
No, there isn't, and you can really test your football knowledge at that stage and your decision making, and you just have to trust yourself and trust the guys around you. If that's not there, you're going to be found wanting in them games. It's just so crazy, and every player you mark is good, and they all have different skills and skill sets, whether they're fast or quick or good on the ball or make good decision making. So yeah, it's great. You're always testing yourself, you're always improving, and if you weren't playing those games, you'd never make a step forward. So yeah, no, just delighted to be involved in them.
There was a play at the end of normal time that's probably going to go down in history, and it's Evan Comerford, Brian Howard and Davy Byrne being chased down by James Carr and Conor O'Shea. So there's 2 men that are coming in as subs. I've been at a couple of Mayo games this year, and James Horn has used his bench early in games, and he's rotated it. What's it like being a part of this panel as opposed to previous Mayo teams that you've been on?
I suppose for me personally, I suppose I'm maybe playing a bit more now. But I suppose just the culture at the minute is that we don't really care who's starting, who comes on. The whole team ethos is there all the right way through. You trust the guys. Sometimes you have better teams finishing than starting. I suppose that's just the beauty of the depth of a squad. 2 boys, as you mentioned there, unreal attitude. And I suppose it's inspirational to see that kind of play, especially if you're a defender and seeing that up the field. Like, it gives you a huge lift, and it can sometimes be kind of a killer for the opposition too. So it was a kind of double-edged sword when it happened. So yeah, just delighted to see the boys get on well, and they'll put themselves in good position to play the next day as well.
Not to throw your former teammate under the bus, Andy Moran, but he was talking at the weekend about the significance of the under-21 All-Ireland final in 2016, and how a group of you boys, led by yourself, you'd obviously been minor captain in 14 as well, of an All-Ireland winning team, but that knowledge, or that winning feeling of beating Dublin before, going down the stretch, he said, the likes of yourself would be sizing up Tom Lahiff, a fella you might have studied for 4 or 5 years and known his weaknesses inside out. How much did that stand to you, having a win in the bag from a couple of years ago?
I suppose what really stood to us is just that we're so used to each other. As I said already, the trust in a group, if you don't have it, you're never going to win anything. And I suppose we've played together for years, a lot of that group, but now you see the young guys coming through, and obviously the guys above us who've so much experience. That's kind of just gelled perfectly together, and there's a great trust there. Absolutely, those experiences are positive and they help you get through it, and it kind of, you've said yourself, geez, I've been here before, I'll be able to deal with this high pressure situation. But just looking around, and you don't even have to talk to someone on the field, the guys that you play with, they just make eye contact and you know they're going to do the right thing and you'll do the right thing for them. So absolutely, it's been there are positive experiences, but again, it's just being used to each other and trusting each other.
Last question, in terms of leadership, as I mentioned, captain in 14, captain in 21, there's been a huge transition in Mayo football, never mind Dublin. There was a stat that we were thrown out in our football pod with Paddy and Andy over the summer, that 80 All-Ireland medals had left the Dublin dressing room this year, so a lot of experience. But by God, Mayo lost a lot of big names over the last 18 months as well. How has your role within the dressing room changed? Because there's been a group of young lads that's come through now in the last year or two. How has your role changed since, we'll say, were you doing your leaving cert when you first came into the Mayo senior panel?
Yeah. I suppose, as you said there, Colin Boyle used to pick me up from school when I was my first year in the panel, and Michael Conroy. But just the guys.
What were those trips like?
I learned a lot. Nothing to do with leaving cert, but I learned a lot on the way. But look, the guys who retired recently and in previous years, I mean, I've said it before, they always leave all the knowledge they have to you and just want you to bring it on further. There's no one there that has an ego or wants to not for you to do well after them. They want you to make the jersey better and better and better. So again, it's just a continuous cycle, and those guys like Andy, as you mentioned, David Clark, Chris Barrett, so many more, Keith Higgins, I haven't named them all. They've always left their few nuggets and moved on, and it'll be the same every year that we go through. So yeah, it's been great.
Best of luck, Stephen.
Thanks, cheers.